Okay, man. This ought to be pretty easy, this stream, because I don't have to sit and talk the whole time. I'll explain what I'm doing. But basically, anybody who's interested, maybe you got to be a pyrotechnician like me, an amateur pyrotechnician like me. But I'm going to show you how I make a bottle rocket. And this will take at least an hour. So I'll be streaming for at least an hour. So, right off the bat, I got to clean up a little. So this will take a couple minutes. Okay. What I want to do is only keep the flammable stuff that I'm only going to use. Nothing extra. Don't have anything around. I don't want to have anything around other than the materials that I'm using. No extra black powder laying around. In case there's an accident, the only catastrophe would be the project that you're working on. And if you're only making one rocket, usually a bucket of water or something, that's pretty easy to contain. But if you have a bunch of flammable stuff around and you're building a rocket that could possibly have an accident, then that's pretty hazardous. So the first thing I want to do is clean up this shop, and I'm going to get all the flammable stuff out of here. These are, those are stars. Okay. Going to get them out of here first. Going to put them in a whole separate area. In case there's an accident. Going to get everything out of the way that could possibly catch fire. This here, that's black powder. I want to get that out of here. Put that away in a separate shed. Hey, Anna Jet. Yo, yo, yo. This isn't your average everyday stream. I'm teaching people how to make black powder. I'm teaching people how to make a black powder rocket today. Your boy 123. Yo, yo, yo. What's happening, you all? I was just going to stream and teach people how to make black powder rockets today. Joel Haggerty, what's happening? I'm going to give a lesson on how to make a black powder rocket. Right now, I'm putting all my flammable stuff away, and I'm simply going to work on do the rocket right now. Terry, Joel Haggerty, and your boy 123, and Anna Jet. Jet, na 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 na. Jet. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I'm making a black powder rocket. This isn't going to be one of my hilarious, goofy videos. I'm going to try to be serious. So, Richard's making a black powder rocket. This is Richard's shop. I'll show you. There's all my chemicals. I'm an amateur pyrotechnician. An amateur pyrotechnician. And Richard is going to show you how to make a black powder rocket. Fireworks. Yay! How many subscribers do I have? I just got up to like 700 and some. 720. So more than that. A little more than 700. Isn't that cool, Anna? 700 subscribers, and Dre's are the best. Dories are the best. Yo, 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 Dories. I'm showing people how to make a black powder rocket today. Drurys and Anna Jet and your boy. And I'm doing the old black powder rocket thing today. So I don't know if you'll be interested, but I'm going to teach you all or anybody who is interested how to make a black powder rocket. But first I got to clean my shop up. I got to get all this junk out of the way. All right, I'm going to put these are my sifting screens to mix the powder. I'm trying to give myself some working room here. Maybe somewhere where I could set the phone down. Your boy, 1, 2, 3. These are my sifting screens, but you're not going to see any of that today. I'm just going to show you how to pound out a black powder rocket for who's ever interested. Black powder, I'm going to show you how I make the tube, how I pack the powder. These are rocket tools, but I'm making a much smaller. I'm only making a rocket about this big today. Where'd I put it? I don't even know where I put. There it is. I'm only making a rocket about that big today. Very small black powder rocket. Anybody who's interested. So, where do I start? Well, I got to make sure I got all the flammables out of here. That's the black powder. That's the actual black powder I'm going to be using to make the rocket. I think I got all the flammables out. I'm going to double check. These are all the chemicals here, but as long as they're not mixed together, I don't have anything too explosive. Actually, not explosive at all. So, okay. If you're interested, real quick, these are mortars that launch shells. You know, when you go to a fireworks show and you actually see real fireworks, well, that's how they launch them out of these things. That's a 6-incher. That's a 4-incher. That's a 3-incher. Normally at professional fireworks display shows, the biggest you'll ever see are 3-inchers and 4-inchers. Unless it's like a really, really big event and they're going crazy, they might use 6-inchers. But so that's neither here nor there because I'm making a rocket today. These are the hemispheres to make a shell. You put all your goodies in there, all your stars and your combustibles, and then you glue your hemis together like so. And then all your explosives go in the hemis, and then you would drop the hemisphere down the tube and light it. But anyway, I'm making a rocket today, so that's today's lesson. I'm going to make a rocket. So now that I got all the flammables and explosives out of here, I'm actually going to start. I'm going to start with the tube on how to make the rocket tube. So let me set the phone in the spot. Okay. There we go. I'm going to make the tube out of this paper here. The actual rocket tube. I'm going to pack the black. First, I'm going to make a tube, and then I'm going to pack the black powder in this. This is going to take a little while. I wasn't expecting to do a whole. I wasn't expecting to do a whole big video, and I was just going to show people how to make a black powder rocket. So that's all I'm going to concentrate on now. I'll try to talk to you guys any questions as I go along, but I'm basically just going to show you all how to make a black powder rocket. So anyway, moving along, the first thing I got to do is make the tube, the actual rocket casing, and that's what I'm going to make first. I'm going to roll this paper into a tube, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. I'm going to use a tool like this to pack the black powder. And since I'm using this tool, I'll make the tube this diameter. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll take a decent amount of this paper here and wrap it around that tool, and that'll form the casing that I need to actually make the black powder rocket. So I'll get the paper like this, like so, and I'll start wrapping it. I should make it, to do it right, I should make an even edge. So I'm going to make an even edge. Okay, there's my even edge. And then I'll start wrapping this paper around this tube. And I'll show you step by step how I'm going to do it. Just to get it started, I wrap it loosely, and I'll show you how I tighten it up. See what's going on here? I'm trying to make a tube the same diameter as this tool. That's almost perfect. Matter of fact, that is perfect. This is going to be the tool that I use to pack the black powder. And I'm making a tube the same diameter as my tool. So I'm going to moving right along. I pull this tight. And then I wet it. This is gum paper. So I need to wet. There's on one side of this paper sticky glue. And I need to wet this glue to actually make my tube. And that's what I'm going to do next. So I got a paper towel here. I'm going to wet the paper towel. And I'm going to wet one side of the gum paper. Okay, now this glue's wet, it'll stick, and I can make my tube, finish my tube off as my rocket casing. As I said, this is going to take at least an hour to finish this up. So hang in there with me. So there's my tube, and I'm going to pack black powder into that and make my rocket. This is gum paper. It's sticky on one side, and I just made a tube. I'm going to reinforce this tube with some, I'll show you what I mean. This is packing tape. Same thing, I'm just reinforcing the tube a little better. Now I have a tube, and I'm going to start packing the black powder. But first I need to create a nozzle. A nozzle, that is what constricts the thrust. I got to make a nozzle. I'll show you how I make a nozzle first. This is called bentonite clay. You could use any type of clay. This is a special clay that they make just for to make nozzles so you can make your rocket. And I have I'm going to use a ramming post. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Okay, you can see my ramming post. So I'm going to ram clay, and I'm going to create a nozzle, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. Here's the clay. You don't have to, but I put paper on the bottom like that, so the clay out and the stick to. You'll get what's going on as I start. Right, you'll see what's going on in a minute. This is that clay I'm going to add into the tube. This is what's going to create the nozzle. Put some clay in there. I get my ramming tool, slide it down the tube, and then I'll start ramming it. This is, you should use a hammer. It doesn't spark, but, and this is called a dead blow hammer. And I'm going to use this. I should have been prepared. I have a wooden mallet, but this will do the job. So I'm going to pack that clay in there. Now I know that I need to add more. I can tell by the way it feels. I want to make that nozzle about a 1/4 inch thick. That's what I'm shooting for. A nozzle that's a 1/4 inch thick. So I'm going to add more clay. There's that bentonite clay. I'm going to add a little more. This is called a ramming post. Add a little more clay. What I'm doing is I'm making a solid piece of clay, and then once I ram the powder into it, then I'll drill a little tiny hole in that clay. I'll use a little drill and I'll twist it. You shouldn't use a power tool, because that you can cause friction and make the rocket ignite, and you definitely want that. So I'm going to pack the clay down a little more. You get the feel for it when this is called a drift. This metal tool is called a drift. When you don't feel the drift go down anymore, you know the clay is nice and tight and packed. And I'm at that point now. I can tell that the clay is nice and tight and packed. So I remove the drift, and I'll show you. That's going to be my nozzle. I'm going to drill that out. Right there, that's going to be my nozzle. I'll drill that out. That'll be a little hole where the thrust shoots out of. My nozzle's about that thick right now, and that's just about right. The nozzle's about, the clay is packed tight around that thick. I'll draw a line. Oh, I don't have a pen, do I? No. I'll try to show you with this. The nozzle's about, that clay chunk is about that thick in that tube. Okay. Now I'm going to start adding the black powder. I'm going to show you what's up here. This is black powder right there. I made this prior. I made this a long time ago, but this is good old black powder. And the way you make black powder is you mix potassium nitrate, charcoal, and sulfur. And then I mix those 3 chemicals and I put them in these barrels. And inside these barrels are these lead balls. And I put the lid on. And then these are rock tumblers. And when the black powder's inside these barrels, I rotate them on the rock tumblers for about an hour. A little more than an hour, for like 2 hours if you want to do it right. And that grinds the chemicals, and that's what actually makes the black powder. And there it is. There's black powder. Okay, so now, and that's going to be my rocket fuel, and that's what I'm going to add in. I'm going to start adding that in to my tube. This is my ramming post. There's that tube I just made. There's the clay I just rammed. I'm going to ram that a little more. I want to compact that a little bit more. Black powder is relatively safe. When you use other types of fuels, you should use a press. But since I'm using black powder and black powder safe, black powder rockets, you can ram them. Black powder rockets, you can ram. But if you're using more sensitive fuels, you have to use a press. There's my press right there. When I make whistle rockets and more dangerous rockets, I use the press. And see this safety glass? God forbid, this is plexiglass. God forbid there's ever an accident and it explodes. I'm protected. Hopefully. I never had an accident. In all the years I've been making fireworks, I never had a rocket blow up on me. But I've read about it, and it does happen. If you're careless, if you guys like it and you want me to make more, I'll go into big time detail. But just for now, I'm going to keep it as simple as I possibly can, and I'm going to show you how to ram a black powder rocket. All right, so getting back to it, I made my tube out of that gum paper. This is gum paper. There's glue on one side. I wet the paper. I rolled it around. I created my tube. Let me show you again. This is gum paper. It has glue on one side. I wrapped this gum paper around my tool, around this tool, to form this tube. And that's how I make, and then I got my clay plug here. Okay, I'm just going to continue on. So now I'm going to start adding fuel and ramming the fuel. There's my black powder. And you got to do this in increments. You can't do it all at once. You have to do it in small increments. Not even that much. I'm going to use less than that. If you guys really get totally interested, I'll give you exact details on everything. But this is just meant to be a quick 1, 2, 3, make a black powder rocket and be done with it. So I add a little bit of fuel, a little bit more. And then you got to do it in increments. I put my ramming tool in there, and then I'll ram that. You should always put a lid. Whenever you ram, you should always put a lid on your main source of fuel in case there is an accident. The whole fuel doesn't blow up. So that's what I did. I put a lid on my fuel in case there's an accident. The fire can't get to this fuel and have a tremendous act. We don't want that. So okay, now I'm gonna ram my first increment. And this just, you get a feel for it. I usually tell people maybe like 10 or 15 medium wax, but you just get a feel for it. The best thing I could tell you is you want to be consistent. That's the best advice I could give you for now, is try to get some consistency with this. All right, so now I'll add another increment. Maybe I should point the camera over here so you can see exactly what's going on. And I'll move all my goodies over here. I'll move my ramming post. And keep everything within your sight. Is that good? Yeah, you can see everything. Always cover your black powder when you're ramming in case there's an accident. I'll repeat that as many times as I have to because the most important thing is safety here. So I'm going to add another increment. Another increment of black powder. Cover your fuel. And then I'm going to ram another increment. You'll feel it when the powder's nice and tight. The metal piece that's called a drift, it won't go down anymore. The first couple hits, you'll feel that metal piece go down. And when it stops going down, you know that the powder's tight enough. Okay? So now I'll add another increment. I'll try to see if there's any questions going on. No questions yet. All right. So I'm just going to move on. I'll answer questions, any questions about making the rocket. If you can think of anything that I'm leaving out. I try to mention everything that I can. There's another increment of black powder. Cover the black in case there's an accident. Now I'm going to ram another increment. Usually every rocket, there's about 10 increments per rocket. That's about the right way to do it. So I'm on my second or third increment. I'll add more black powder. Maybe a little more. Cover the powder. I'm going to say it every time because that's important. I've never had an accident, but I've read about it. They do happen. They're rare, but you don't want that accident happening to you. Okay, another increment coming up. I'm up to about 5 increments. Again, it takes around 10 increments to complete your rocket. Cover your fuel. Another increment. Cover your fuel. Another increment. That's too much. Yeah, a little more than that. I got the feel for this. If you guys are really interested, I'll tell you the exact measurements and how much you should use and blah, blah, blah. This is my very first demonstration of how to make a black powder rocket. So I'm going to rehearse this more and more, and I'll try to give more details if people are actually interested. I consider myself an amateur pyrotechnician. And if you look at some of my other videos, you can see some of my work, and I'm very proud of it. I make large shells. I make the real McCoy. I don't goof around. I mean, these are some of my rocket tooling here. That's for bigger rockets. Okay? Look at the size of that tube. Okay? Here's another rocket tube. So I make big rockets, you know. This is as small as they come. The bigger tube I just showed you, that was a 6-pound rocket. That's a 4-pound rocket size. But weight has nothing to do with it. I don't even know why they call it that. I have no idea why they use the pounds. I think back in the day it meant something, but the 6-pound is 2 inches in diameter and the 4-pound is 1.5 inches in diameter. I don't know why they call it pounds. I have no idea. But they just do. So I'm going to add another increment. Always cover your fuel up. I'm going to say that every time because that's important. I only have about 2 or 3 more increments to go in this rocket. and then I'll show you what I do next. So now that drifts down to about there. So maybe 1 or 2 more increments. What's going on now is I'm going to drill a hole in that. That's clay. And that's going to be my nozzle. I'm going to fill the rocket fuel up to about here. And then I'm going to put another, what they call is a bulkhead. I'll explain as I go along. I just got a couple more increments to go. And I'll show you the bulkhead. Always cover your excess fuel. I can see the black powder. It's about down the heat, out to there. So that 1 more increment, and then I'm going to put the bulkhead in there. And then I'll start drilling the nozzle, and I'll show you how I put the fuse in. I'll show you how you put the stick on. 1 more increment. Cover your fuel up. Okay, the black powder's filled up to about there. Now I'm going to put my black powder's filled up to around there. So now I'm going to put the bulkhead in there. I'll show you what I mean by that. Just going to make sure this powder's nice and tight. If there's any cracks in your fuel, what you're shooting for is a solid core, a solid chunk of black powder. That's the goal you're aiming for. You guys can't see in there. But inside this tube is 1 solid slug of black powder now. That's what I'm aiming for. If there's any cracks in that slug, the rocket will explode. It'll CATO. That's an acronym for catastrophe upon takeoff. Any amateur or any pyrotechnician knows what that means. So I got a solid chunk of fuel in there, and now I'm going to add more bentonite clay. Any clay's good. This is special clay to make fireworks. I'm going to add clay. So I'm going to have clay on this side when I'm done. And then I'm going to drill out a hole on this side. And that'll be the nozzle where the thrust shoots out of the rocket. So now I'm going to add the clay. I'm done with the black powder. And now I'm going to start adding the clay to make a bulkhead. I'm going to do this just right so I don't split the tube. You could buy tubes, but I like to make my own. All right. So now I'm going to drill that out. I'm not going to use a power tool. That'll cause too much friction, and that could light the black powder. I'm just going to use I'm going to hold a bit in my hand and hand drill it out. Okay. Do not use a power tool to drill your hole. So I had the drill bit ready. About that size. Something like that. And I'm simply going to drill out the clay bentonite to form my nozzle. Hand twist it. This will take a minute. I got a little thing started. You'll know when you get to the black powder because obviously you see the clay coming out, falling out. I don't know if you can see that. But when I get to the black powder, it'll go from that whitish color to the actual black powder. This will take a minute. No rush. Shouldn't rush fireworking. That's how accidents happen. Some of my best rockets took me, a couple hours to make. But I'm just trying to do a faster job so you guys don't get bored to death. I still see the whitish color. Yep, so I'm still. That's my dog. If you guys watch my videos, that's my son. That's what most of my videos are, just me and him walking. But I figured I'd make a black rocket on a live stream. Black powder rocket. You can actually feel when you get to the black powder, it has a different consistency. So I'm still drilling through the clay right now. All right, I should be hitting the black powder soon. Okay, I could tell I'm hitting the black powder because I could see it in the grooves in the drill. So that's far enough. Now I'm actually drilling into the fuel. I'm just going to go a little more so the fuse, when I put the fuse in there, it'll take the fire easy. Can you see? Let me get a piece of paper, you'll see what I mean. See that? I drilled down to the fuel. Okay? So now I'm going to put a fuse in that, put a stick on it, and we'll light it off. Sound good? So I'll show you. This is my shop here. I have all my chemicals from A to Z. Aluminum, everything. I would bore you to death if I listed all my chemicals, but I'm capable of making almost any firework that's out there. Rockets, pinwheels, shells, you name it, I can make it. I don't think there's anything that I haven't made yet in my life. I made every type of firework that's out there. To make black powder, this is interesting to mention. You need 75% potassium nitrate, 15% charcoal, and 10% sulfur. See sulfur yellow? The charcoal is black. It's called air float charcoal. That's real fine charcoal. This is potassium nitrate. You could either mix it up in your ball mills. That's the best way to do it. You put them in these barrels. See these? You put your chemicals in the barrels, and then you rotate the barrels on these ball mills. I have 5 ball mills here, so I can make a significant amount of black powder in one run. So I'll say the numbers again. It's 75% potassium nitrate, 15% charcoal, the finest charcoal you can get, and 10% sulfur. Now, you can't use charcoal briquettes. You got to use charcoal that's meant specifically for fireworks. I also make my own charcoal too, but off. All right, so let's fuse it. I'm going to put fuse in there. I know how to make my own fuse too, but this is just store-bought fuse, just for the sake of argument. I'm going to have to get a razor blade unless one's out here. You should never cut fuse with a scissors. You can cause a spark and ignite the fuse. You should always cut it with a razor blade. I should have been prepared. I'm going to get my razor blade and cut this fuse. And then I'll put a stick on the rocket. And if nobody's down the lake, we'll light it off. If there's people down there, I can't light it off. I'll get yelled at. I almost got kicked out of this community for lighting off. When I light off my big guys, I take about a 15-minute walk onto the power line. There's power lines around here, and that's nobody owns the power lines, and nobody can yell at me there. And that's where all my videos of all my rockets are, down by the power lines. So I'm getting sorry I wasn't prepared, but I didn't think this through. So I got my razor blades. I'm going to cut the fuse the rocket, stick it, put a stick on it. Might as well get mine here. There's my dog. Roni. Roni's his name. That's what all my videos consist of, is me and the dog. This black powder rocket thing is something. I'm an amateur pyrotechnician, and I figured I might as well show you guys how I do this. I have years and years of experience at it. I'm good at it. So I'm proud of myself. Check out some of my videos. I have a rocket compilation where there's like 10 or 12 rockets in a row. And the whole video is only like less than 5 minutes long. And you get to see like 10, and they're big ones. I have big headers on them. A header is the thing that gives you the display. The rocket I'm making now is not going to have a header. It's just going to be a rocket that shoots up in the air. But the ones on my other videos have real nice shells on them. Big shells. Looks like professional fireworks. And a lot of them have bottom shots. A bottom shot, if you've ever been to a professional firework display, you'll see the thing go up in the air, and then you'll see that flower or the umbrella with all the points of light. And then you'll see that big flash and hear the boom. That's a bottom shot. And all my rockets in my videos have bottom shots in them. All right, enough of that. I'm going to cut a piece of fuse. I'm going to fuse the rocket, and we'll see if anybody's down the lake, and we'll light it off. Yeah. All right. I'm going to reiterate real quick. First, I packed the bentonite clay, and then I packed the actual fuel, the black powder. Then I packed more clay. That's called a bulkhead. And then I drilled out the clay until I reached the black powder portion of the rocket. You could tell you hit the black powder because you could actually see it. The clay's white, the black powder's black. Now I'm going to cut a piece of fuse. And we'll set it off. I hope nobody's down. I'll show you as I go along. And another trick when you cut the fuse, and I'm going to say this again too, you shouldn't cut fuse with scissors. That could cause a spark, and you could light the fuse, and you don't want that. You don't want an ignition before it's time. And the more surface area with the fuse, the better chance of getting ignition. And the way you create more surface area is I'm not going to cut perpendicular. I'm going to cut on an angle, and that'll give me more surface area. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay. See how that's on an angle? Can you see that? You probably can't see it, but that's on an angle. Okay. So I insert the fuse into my rocket. And then I'll put a stick on this. I'll show you how I do that. I have all the sticks and everything ready to go. I'll show you just for the heck of it. I got all my sticks back here. I'm just gonna pick out a stick real quick. The lighter the better. There's a light one. There's a nice light stick. Put this back up. Okay. Just going to tape a stick to it, just like that. And that's going to be my rocket. Okay. I have tape right here. I'm going to put a little more tape on there. All right, good to go. Got my trusty lighter. See if anybody's down the lake. I need something to shoot this out of, like a bottle, and that's why they call them bottle rockets. I got to think of something. I got something I can shoot this out of. I have an idea. Right here. I'll shoot it out of. This is actually a mortar. This is a store-bought firework, but I'm going to use it as a launch, something to launch my rocket out of. There's the lake. Nobody's here. So it looks like we're going to do this. Now, if I didn't pack my fuel down good enough, but so, at least see something, right? What's happening here now is I'm jumping from my router to my regular phone signal, and I always lose you guys when that happens. My router's gonna have to pick back up. But listen, I hope you guys saw that, man. I hope you all, if somebody's out there and still with me, just type a Y in if you saw that. Okay. And on my next video, I'll have it better prepared. A yes for Y, if anybody saw that. I'll be better prepared. And I'll think about the process a little more in detail, and I'll try to explain it better. But I simply wasn't prepared this time here around. I just wanted to show you guys how to quickly make a black powder rocket, and I accomplished it. I made the rocket. I set it off. Hopefully you guys saw that. Maybe I'll do it again tonight, because at best you saw it shoot out of the tube. But if I do it at night, you'll be able to follow the rocket the entire way up. That went up around 200 or 300 feet, that rocket. And there's tricks you can do. I could add a little bit of metal to the black powder, and it leaves a beautiful tail on the rocket. a bright, sparkly silver tail, and you could definitely fire the rocket up, at night. And I can make color rockets. There's different ways to make different types of rockets. That was a simple black powder rocket, but chemicals like, let me see, I'll show you. See this strontium nitrate right here? Can you see that? Strontium nitrate. Let me put the front camera on so I can read it with you. It's strontium sulfur. Here's strontium nitrate. If I wanted to make a red color rocket, instead of potassium nitrate, I would use the strontium nitrate. If I wanted to make a green colored rocket, I got everything in alphabetical order. So that should be around B. Right there. Barium nitrate. If I wanted to make a green rocket, barium is green, strontium's red, plain old black powder is like, you have to add metals to it if you want silver or gold. I have every chemical in the book here. I make whistle rockets. I make every damn firework in the damn book. So, boy, I'm glad that worked out, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did. And I'll talk a couple minutes if you have any questions before I leave you all. But check out some of my videos. I'll grab my doggy, maybe walk around for a minute. If you guys want to discuss what you just seen, I'll talk about it for a minute. But I'll grab my doggy, just walk around for a minute. I hope you enjoyed. It was really nice, man. I'm going to do that again. I'll make like just makes a silver tail. If I add iron filings, that makes a golden tail. If I use the strontium nitrate instead of the potassium nitrate, that creates a red rocket. If I use the barium nitrate instead of the potassium, that makes a green rocket. So I'll make one of every flavor if you guys are interested. Let me grab my doggy. Maybe we could talk a minute. There's my doggy. That's my baby. That's what most of my videos are, me and my doggy. But again, I figured I'd show you how to make a rocket, and I'm glad it worked out good. Come here, son. Come here. Let Daddy hook you up. All right, come on. Any questions? I love to answer. I'll talk. We don't even have to talk about fireworks now that I'm done my project. We'll talk about the weather. I don't care. Any questions out there? I know you boy 123 was out there, and I know Anna Jet was out there. I'm sorry I didn't have time to talk to you, but the whole idea there was to teach you all how to make a black powder rocket. That's all. My dog don't want to go. I already had him out of milk. Look at him. He knows. He doesn't want to go. So I'm not going to force my dog to go anywhere he doesn't want to go. So I guess I'll end the stream now. Hey, listen, man. I hope you enjoyed. You want to go for a walk, son? Is that it? Want to just go somewhere? You want to go back home? I'll leave it up to you. You want to go back in? Yeah, he wants to go in. So I'm going to end the stream. But if you guys want to watch me make more black powder rockets, you let me know in the comments, and I'll schedule a live stream specifically for fireworks, and I'll teach you guys how I do it. It's really easy and it's fun. I love it, man. I hope you guys love it. All right, I'm gonna hang up. I love you guys, man. I'll talk to you later.